You arrive near the Heian court, with a voice older people say should be heard by nobles. That sounds like luck until you notice how many other lives are already arranged around your song. From the outside, it looks like a rise.
A lower girl entering rooms lacquered for people above her.
A young singer crossing screens and curtains into palace light. A beautiful voice slipping upward through rank.
But the court is not opening to you because it forgot hierarchy.
It is opening because hierarchy wants what your voice can do for it. This is late Heian Japan, where taste can matter almost as much as blood. And music is one more way power learns to sound refined. You are not here as a princess. You are not here as a lady born secure behind painted blinds. You are here as a young female singer of imayo. That means your art can enter elite space before your life ever does. The song reaches further than the body carrying it. That is the first rule you learn, without anyone needing to say it aloud.
Courtly Japan loves order, rank, polish, and the feeling of perfect arrangement. So if your voice is wanted, it will still be wanted in the correct place, at the correct time, for the correct person.
Even admiration arrives with etiquette wrapped around it. The room hears talent, but it sees status first. Before anyone praises you, your body is already being taught how not to offend the room.
How to kneel correctly.
How to enter correctly. How to lower your eyes without lowering the sound. The myth says, a gifted court singer lives by inspiration. The truth begins with repetition, breath control, and older women hearing flaws before you do.
You rehearse the line until it stops sounding like hope and starts sounding inevitable. Again for the court.
Again for the patron.
Again because talent is expensive once powerful people begin to depend on it.
Your voice is young, but the training is not gentle because you are young.
It is exact because the room you are being prepared for is exact. A note placed badly embarrasses more than you. It embarrasses the taste of the person who chose to present you. That is when you understand your talent is already tied to someone else's name.
Your song is yours in the throat, and theirs in the room. The Heian court loves beauty that looks effortless.
So your effort has to become invisible before your entrance feels impressive.
A noble listener should hear polish, not strain. A patron should feel elevated, not reminded of your practice hours. A senior geiko matters. Your arts teachers matter.
Clients matter, even when they are not in the room yet. Kyoto tradition sounds serene until you realize how many people it expects you to remember perfectly.
By evening, the lessons turn into performance.
You leave the house polished enough to look effortless.
That is the trick the street loves most.
If the image looks effortless, the labor disappears behind it.
At ozashiki, you are not there to wander beautifully.
You are there to work inside a carefully managed room.
You pour, greet, dance, listen, respond, and never quite relax into the chairless grace of the role.
The clients see charm. The system sees training in motion.
You thought Maiko life meant being admired.
It also means being watched by clients, seniors, house mothers, teachers, and strangers on the street.
And strangers can be the strangest pressure of all. Kyoto has to remind visitors not to touch you, not to block you, not to chase photos from your face like you were built for their vacation. That is how public fascination turns into another form of discipline around your body. The city calls you tradition, which sounds almost holy. But tradition can still feel like being managed from every side. You are not trapped by one villain here. You are shaped by a whole structure that rewards exactness and punishes looseness with embarrassment, correction, and loss of face. By now, your feet know the route between lessons and evening rooms better than your own moods do.
Your body learns before your heart agrees.
That is one reason the image looks so perfect from outside. Perfection hides the negotiations underneath it. The spring dances make the role look even more magical. Whole districts gather their art into public bloom. Miyako Odori turns discipline into petals and applause. But bloom is still work when you are the one rehearsing it. You learn quickly that applause does not cancel fatigue. It only proves you were polished enough to hide it for the length of the performance. People often imagine the Maiko as a girl who escaped ordinary adulthood. Scholarship says the fantasy works because it looks like a refusal of modern boredom. No office desk. No dating app small talk.
No forgettable hoodie life.
But replacing ordinary choices with codified beauty is not the same as becoming free. You still belong to a ladder.
You still answer upward.
You still wear a role before you fully control a career. Real professional autonomy comes later, if you make it to Geisha. That is the cold line most fantasy leaves out. The admired image belongs to the Maiko stage. The stronger control over your own work belongs later. So the role people photograph most is not the one with the most freedom. You thought the white makeup meant transformation. Sometimes it feels more like a polite way of disappearing inside the image. And still, the story is not simple misery either.
The arts are real.
The dance is real. The dance is real. The beauty is real. That is what makes the discipline harder to explain, honestly.
Because some of what you are building is skill, not just obedience.
And some of what holds you together is the women around you who already know this balance.
A senior adjusting your collar before a room sees you.
A sister apprentice sharing the look that says, "Keep going."
A teacher who can hear improvement inside your trembling.
Small mercies matter more when the image leaves little room for error.
The worst part is not only the weight of the costume. It is the possibility that the role becomes easier to perform than ordinary girlhood ever was. That is when discipline starts to feel like identity.
And identity can be the hardest uniform to loosen.
Kyoto's elegance survives because women like you keep feeding it hours, posture, memory, and youth. The city sells the image as tradition, because tradition is easier to love than dependence.
It sells the image as freedom, because freedom photographs better than discipline. But by now, you know the image is held together by rules, rankings, and relentless repetition.
That is why the silk feels heavier near the end of the night. Not because the fabric changed, because you finally feel how much of your movement belongs to the role before it belongs to you. So your final lesson is simple. Discipline here can look exactly like grace from the outside. And that is why people mistake it for freedom.
But freedom is not the same as being admired in a perfect costume. Freedom is choosing more of your life than the image allows at this stage.
A Maiko may become a stronger artist, but she begins inside a structure that asks for surrender before autonomy.
So your life in Kyoto is not a fairy tale in silk. It is an apprenticeship disciplined enough to be mistaken for magic. If this life changed how you see old Kyoto glamour, stay with the next story.
Subscribe for more lives history made beautiful before it made them obedient.